And in tonight's show, we're going to cover the do's and don'ts of growing a global business with Enagic. So stay tuned. I know I got a few people on the Zoom webinar. Nice to have you here. You can put your name and where you're from in the chat window. If you've got any questions throughout the webinar, please pop them there, and I'll be happy to answer them at the end. But let's just jump right into what we want to discuss this evening. And we'll take it right here. Great. You guys should be able to see my screen pretty easily. And PH Alliance training, the Enagic Global Business, the do's and the don'ts. So as we all know, with Enagic, we have a wonderful global opportunity. We have 38 offices in 23 different countries. I've been with the company for over 8 years, and I've just seen both of these numbers continue to grow. So for that, we have global water issues that affect the entire planet. So there's a massive room for expansion and for us all to have a global impact. There's also a global environment, entrepreneurial movement associated with, a home-based movement, technology movement. So it really allows the growth of our business to be incredible in the coming years. And basically, Enagic has created a 45-year infrastructure that we get to plug and play with. So just to really put it into terms, to really wrap your mind around this, what Enagic has created here is pretty impressive. 45 years in, 38 offices, 23 different countries, an incredible water technology that is a medical device. Basically, our product will be beneficial at every home on the planet. So we really have an incredible opportunity. Now, with that opportunity, that doesn't mean it's always going to go smooth and easy. So I want to cover in tonight's show the pros and cons and also the do's and don'ts of how to handle this opportunity for all of us. Here's some of the pros that you could be looking at. It's a global impact in a global marketplace. So you having a really big dream, you can make an incredible impact in people's lives. This is talking about like moving from impacting hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands to potentially millions over the course of your career here with Enagic, right? And it's moving out of local or regional to international to multi-international locations. You can also have the opportunity to dominate niche marketplaces. So rather than feeling like you're saturated with a whole bunch of distributors in a country, with our global expansion and with our ability to basically make a sale anywhere in the world, you can always find your ideal clientele, customer, and really dominate niche markets that other people aren't going to be using. At the end of the day, there's absolutely no excuses. Right? If people aren't buying in your local area for whatever reasons, the economy sucks, everyone's out of work, whatever it might be, you can be marketing and advertising in other places and doing business in other offices. So there's no geographical limitation in the sales area. And people, if you've been in Enagic for a while, or you're presenting the business opportunity to people, often it's a common question of, do you have a sales area that you're responsible? Do you have patented responsibility in a certain location? And all of those things are no. And it really is for our greatest service, because it allows the really hungry distributor who wants to get after it to really be able to work in multiple marketplaces and build international teams and organizations. So there's a massive upside to what Enagic has created for us. Now, on the flip side, talking about the cons of that, 23 different countries means 23 different offices and 23 different procedures. And you've probably noticed, if you've made a few sales with Enagic, that the paperwork and sales process can be a little bit complicated. And there's always been improvements along that. But we're not selling an $80 item which has low security. We're selling a $5,000 to $10,000 if people come in with a full package, health and wellness package. So the company wants to really make sure that the transactions are safe and secure and avoiding any kind of fraudulent charges or stolen credit cards and all that stuff. So we have a whole bunch of paperwork to do, and they want signed signatures. Now, once you start to understand that in your own local office, it's great. Everything goes along smoother. You can teach other people. But the moment you go international, now you're dealing with sometimes a different set of rules. Because I'm not sure if you know this, but with Enagic, there's 38 offices, 23 different countries, and each one of those offices are independent of one another. Even though there's a lot of collaboration, they actually are like mini service centers. And so they operate within their own kind of jurisdiction. So it's not, and sometimes what needs to happen in one location is different than what happens in another location. So you can't expect uniformity. And there's also language barriers, cultural differences, marketing that changes in different places, the price that changes. So if you decide to grow an international business, you got to be aware that there's going to be changing things, and you got to keep up to speed with that. We'll break down and talk a little bit more about that. There's also different source water issues. In a lot of places, you know, pre-filters are just going to be a must. Whereas in the North American marketplace, you know, for myself here in Vancouver on the West Coast, you know, that's not necessarily such a big deal. But for 80% of the sales in North America, I feel a pre-filter is required. When you go international, that number is going to be even higher, that you can get up to some places where it's 100%. You absolutely need to put in a pre-filter. So you're going to need to explore what that marketplace looks like. That can be complicated. There's different tax and distributor limitations in different offices. There's also less financing when you move out of your local area. So in North America, where we predominantly do business, we have third-party, we have Enagic in-house financing, we have third-party financing, which really helps us be able to provide a wider service to our potential customers and distributors. Once you start doing business elsewhere, those third-party programs usually disappear unless you're in a local marketplace, such as in Europe, and you've probably went and found some third-party options yourself. So just be aware that the game changes when you move outside of your local territory. And there's also local territory competition. What I mean by that? Well, if you are dealing with your local area, you're the best person to talk to. If I'm trying to make a sale to somebody in Dubai, I'm at a limitation from the other distributors in Dubai that could probably know all these answers. So what I need to do is I really need to get myself up to speed, and it's somewhat in competition with other distributors in order to provide that person with the best customer service. Ultimately, customers will choose who they want to work with based usually on the value and the experience that they're having. So you need to be able to raise the bar. If you don't, one of the cons will be people can go shopping elsewhere, and they'll find somebody who was able to make this sales process smoother because there were some hiccups along the way. It happens, everybody, if you've been in the business for a little while. Now, here's some of the do's. I firmly believe you just say yes and you go figure it out. Someone contacts you from your downline or through social media, you get a call, you get an instant message on Facebook, and someone in Thailand, Indonesia, someone in Hawaii, someone in Mexico wants information, and they want to purchase a system. Now, you are in a position where you confidently just say yes, and you need to go figure it out, right? And you want to make that process as smooth as possible for the new person. Otherwise, once it gets complicated, people feel that complication and then they basically drop out. Your job as a professional is to take them through it in a very smooth manner. So absolutely, without a doubt, the place that we all need to build our business from has been provided by Enagic with enagic.com if you're in North America. So I'm going to open this up so that you can have a little bit of a look at what's provided here. So I'm going to stop the share, just make sure that we're seeing all the same thing. Great, so you guys should be able to see my web browser. We're open to Enagic here. If not, make a comment in the comment section for my people on live. You go to the login area, and it's going to ask you for your ID and everything. Real simple, you want to put that all in. Oh, there we go. And so there's incredible support to be found back here. And I just want to bring attention up here to the Enagic form. So this is in your back office if this is a new look to you. Hopefully it's not, because there's some great information and resources here. But you want to go to the distributor area on the left-hand side, Enagic forms, and it's going to pull up all the paperwork that is required throughout all the offices. Now, 23 different countries, they're listed here, and you can do, find the paperwork in Canada, Mexico, Hong Kong. And what's really nice when you pull up these, a lot of these areas will actually tell you what the sales process looks like in their country. They also usually have unique websites that are affiliated, like Mexico has their own, Hong Kong has their own. So you want to access it here, but then you also want to go find those individual websites for the different countries and see what they're advertising on there, because that will usually provide you with a little bit more additional information, also in the local marketing and currency, and maybe even if the language needs to happen in different ways. You can all find that through their local Enagic marketplace. So, but here's a great resource, and it gives all the information. Another one to take a look at is, and I think I need to go back out here for a moment. We'll go to Enagic on the front, and right here, whenever you get someone approaching you and you're not exactly sure where the local office is going to be, I go to this search window here and just type in where the person's coming from, so that you can find out what the local office that will be able to support that person will be. So let's say someone contacts me from, Perth, Australia. My little internet is a little slow. It's snowing heavy here in Vancouver. But as you can see, this will eventually pop up, and it will give you the sales information, the local contact information, the email. And what I highly recommend is you take that email and you reach out to the office and say, hey, I've got a sale coming through. Ask if there's any additional information that you require. Is the paperwork up to date that I found on the back office? And I would even maybe CC and attach those pieces of paperwork to the email. That's going a little slow here. Let's see if we can get out of here, and let's do maybe another one. So great resource. Let's keep it local. So let's say if it's in Hawaii, right? So here's all the information that's provided. Right. Down below here, you can actually go through the different offices. So this is even easier. So if I was, like I said, for example, in Europe, the different offices, you can click on here, you find the office, the information, the hours. So I would definitely reach out to them, make sure you got the right paperwork, ask them if there's any other details, and so you can move forward with the sale. Real simple. But very effective. So, you're going to spend a lot of time using Enagic.com, the back office as a distributor when you're growing your international team. Let me switch back here to the PowerPoint, and we will restart. All right. Let me make sure here that I'm just want to make sure. All right, we've got actually someone from the Gold Coast tuning in, a couple of people from California. Happy to have you guys on board. Normally I do the Facebook Live on this, but had some technical difficulties, so we're just going to do the webinar version of this, and I'll repost it on the Facebook page. So great to have you guys on board. So we just discussed the Enagic document download and maps area. You want to build relationships with the offices by reaching out to them. You want to build relationship with other distributors. It's so great when you go to bigger events like convention and so forth. And if you've got a little bit of activity happening in a local marketplace, go find, or in an international marketplace, go find distributors who are active in that local place. Become their friend, ask some questions, build a network of other supportive distributors. You also want to talk to your upline in regards to that. They might have some connections. They might have someone who's cross-team to you, but on their same team willing to help. Do your homework so you position yourself as knowledgeable in the foreign marketplace. Someone asks me a bunch of questions and I don't know it, I will get back to them and I'll just do a little Google searching to find out what water issues or what currency issues or technical issues that would be happening in their marketplace. And you want to talk to your upline. Always a good idea to get some tips on. So here's a few more of the do's. Set real expectation with customers, which I think should go without saying. You want to set realistic expectations with your customers and distributors all the time. The worst thing to do is overpromise and underdeliver, in my opinion, when you're doing business, especially in the service industry. So when I'm working with someone international, I just let myself have a lot of space. Hey, I got to reach out to the local office, find out what the deal is. I'll get back to you in the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll send you some information for you to check out. So I nurture the relationship. The second point here, evaluate business partners and potential. People will reach out. Some of them are customer focused and others will be interested in the business or will inquire if that's something they'd be intrigued about. When that starts to happen, you start to go down the business road. Definitely you want to, here's the key to building business that comes down to 3 different things. People need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you in order to do business with you. So that's not all going to happen over texting. Eventually, you're going to invite the person to get on a Zoom call, which is a free service, awesome. I use it every single day. And you jump on there and you have a call with them. So you get face-to-face. You start to build a relationship, find out what they're looking for. So a great way to do international business is using Zoom. To build international, you need a rock-solid, reliable, professional, and hungry distributor to want to invest in. It can get expensive building outside of your local and regional marketplace. If you're going international or flying across the country, you definitely want to make sure you got somebody who's solid on the other end. And I would not do that with a 1A or a 2A. Very unlikely. I would make sure, set realistic expectations, get them making a few sales so that they can kind of prove it that they're into this and they can do some stuff on their own, and then make some bigger ideas of like going for a visit and doing a tour or working one-on-one. But you want to make sure that you've got a legitimate business distributor there before you start spending a lot of money in flights and away from home and setting up events and so forth. When you go international, you definitely want to build from event to event. So, you set up in advance a whole bunch of events, demos, business things, so that the distributor on the ground is promoting several weeks in advance. You come, you do a big event, and then I would recommend going back there probably 4 to 6 weeks later, doing another event. So you get the energy of that first event. People are excited. They have 4 to 6 weeks to continue with that excitement and invite their next group of people to the event. If you do that 3 times, that's one of the strategies to really open up a location and work with a business builder to get them to 4A, 5A really quickly. 3 events, 4 to 6 weeks apart, and you do it over like a 90, 120 day, a quarter, 3 to 4 months. And that should be enough to really get the engines going, and you've trained in the local area, you've put the time and the energy in, and there'll be a sense of independence moving forward. So that's a little bit of a tip on how to build it international, and that's definitely worked for me with my team in both Hawaii and Australia. So let's talk about some of the don'ts, because it's really important to know what to do, but it's equally as important to know what not to do. Do not set unrealistic expectations with customers to make a sale. You just don't need to overpromise. I know we get excited when someone calls, but it's like, I really need to build a relationship there and say, hey, you know what? Great, I'd love to be able to help you. This is what I can do for you right now. I'll go find out that other information, and just take people through that process without saying, absolutely, I can do this, and kind of moving a little bit too fast, with uncertainty can really kind of blow things up in your face. So just be straight up with people. Send them to a local, do not send them, absolutely do not send them to a local marketplace with your ID, expecting them to buy from you and walk out with a brand new machine. I have seen that work 10% of the time, and the other 90% of the time, they bumped into somebody else, and something else has happened and you've lost that competitive edge to somebody in the local area who is able to like help them at a greater value, and they've just switched over because they don't have the same level of relationship built with you and trust. So don't want to send people to an office with your idea expecting to make a sale. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You can do a lot of stuff in advance to make that happen. If the person wants to go pick it up, excellent. The paperwork can be submitted. All these steps can be done so that they're going there to really like the sale is done. The office is aware that you've got a client coming in and from overseas, you're making this sale. They'll be able to take care of you in that way. Don't take a trip to work with a new builder without a solid game plan and strategy in place. We can get excited about what people say, but there's one thing moving from, you know, what we say to what we do, and you being a business builder and spending money to go in to help someone in a location outside of your home in your city can be an expensive process. So you really want to make sure you qualify the person effectively, probably introduce them to your upline so that they can do the same, and you build a game plan that's going to be like a 90-day game plan of a couple of visits and what's going to happen and how many people are going to be at the demos you're going to go to and host, all that stuff. Another don't is don't take another distributor's customer if it clearly belongs to somebody else. This you would think goes without saying, but it happens all the time. And so we at the PH Alliance really like to promote the highest ethics and standards in how we conduct ourselves inside our Enagic business, but also in a professional manner in all of our businesses. And so when it comes to Enagic, if someone clearly has been educated and sent by another person, and 80% of that work has been done, and all of a sudden you're talking to them at a moment where they kind of need some help or whatever, help the person, but don't take the sale. And what we find is what goes around comes around, and the same thing will happen when one of your people show up in a place, you've done all the work, and it doesn't get scooped up at the end by somebody who just is kind of getting lucky in a moment, right? We just honor the work that's been put in and pass that along. So another one of the don'ts. And then moving to conclusion and finality on this topic is, I'm moving in the wrong direction. Give me 1 second. Is dream big. It is incredible that we have the opportunity to build an international business. I was before getting into Enagic, I was with another company that was doing business in 2 countries. I had been with that company for 4 years, and they kept telling us that we were going international. We were going to go in the Australian market. We're going to do this and this and that. It never happened. And I've been with Enagic 8 years, and I know that company still hasn't gone international. It is very difficult for a company to have the infrastructure, the legalities, the money, the deep pockets, the big vision, the service. Can you imagine what all that takes? It is incredible. So for us to have the opportunity to be able to really leverage Enagic here with all their service centers is powerful. And I think it really allows the true entrepreneur understanding, our global mindset of today's world and how social media can connect you with the world. We really have an opportunity here. So allows you to really put on that big dream, and if you've got people in Peru, in Iceland, in Norway, in Australia that from the past, or you've had good relationship with, or their extended family, there's a legitimate opportunity to reach out, build connection with them, and invite them to take a look at this business, and you can have an international business doing the same thing. That's awesome. Here's a tip. Focus on your regional marketplace before you go international. It's easier to learn the ropes in a more forgiving arena, right? And it's easier to do business when it's on the same time schedule, when you're dealing with the same office. You're in the practice mode in your local regional office, and then you can start to move out from there. I've seen some people come into the business and all of a sudden they want to build international because they have these good connections, which is awesome, but you kind of need to ground yourself in the experience unless things really open up. But generally you want to build at home first, get things going, and then move international. If you find a solid business partner overseas, they could be a parent, work closely with them as a gateway to grow your business. Here's a little tip. for me, when I grew my international business, I really qualified a person before I flew, say, my business builder in Australia. I really qualified them that they were going to step up to the plate and deliver on my expectations. I also knew that they were a gateway into our marketplace, and they might not be the person that was going to be my key business builder in that marketplace. And I knew that going in. But I identified them as hey, this person is connected to a lot of networks, right? And so in those networks, I can maybe find that. And that's exactly what happened. So the main person I started to do business with actually led me to one key person that really became my leader internationally in Australia. And so you want to be able to evaluate it. And if you're new to this, that's the place where you have a three-way phone call with your upline leaders, and you really assess and let the upline ask some poignant questions, get a really good vibe, qualify that, hey, this is the right move for you to do in your business to go international and support them there. And you want to stay focused. Stay focused on the mission versus the commission. Often I've seen distributors make sales international, and because they don't know the person, they really just drop them, and it ends up being a less than pleasant experience for that person, the customer. Or it's usually a customer situation rather than a distributor. And because they didn't get set up with pre-filters, they couldn't hook it up to their taps when I got there. Power supply was wrong in some places. All these nuances that if it's in your local market, you know them. Because it's in your international market, you may not know them. So you got to put that time in, so that's where you're probably going to work a little harder. For sure, you're going to work harder to make international sales. So you really want to focus on delivering the best customer service rather than just, kind of getting lucky with someone who calls you and they want to make a quick sale and move forward with it. So focus on the mission always instead of the commission. That's just a great attitude to work by in the business, because it will take you to awesome places with awesome people. So I want to thank you guys. That's my do's and don'ts of building an international business with Enagic. I hope you got some good value through the process. I apologize for the technical difficulties along the way. It's not my first time, but it happens to the best of us. So I'm going to open up if you've got any questions in the chat window. We know we got a bunch of people on tonight with us. So feel free to ask any questions or lay any comments down. And let me open this up a little bit. Thank you. And we got people from all over coming in. Carla, thank you so much. Super informative. Great. Michael, yep, I know how it feels having an international sales partner. Perfect. Leanne from the Gold Coast, Australia. There you go. Perfect example of building an international business. I love it. Australia, for me, it's building North America, and then the second place is Australia because the time works really good. For us, it's the evening, and in Australia, it's the morning time. So you can still have day-to-day conversations that aren't inconvenient. If you guys in the future, usually I will try to wire this up. I know Wade does it as well to our Facebook page, which is the Prosperity and Health Alliance. And we will post updates and poignant information and all the replays there. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm gonna just, can you share what you mean by sales for distributors having some limitations internationally? Yeah, let's see, perfect example. In Brazil, if you had somebody who wanted to buy a machine from Argentina and you tried to sell them a system through Brazil, which is closer than Mexico, right? I didn't know this, but Brazil, if Brazil can only give a distributorship to anyone in Brazil, they can't offer a distributorship to anyone outside of Brazil because that breaks their international policy. So even though it was closer, could be potentially cheaper, if a person wanted to be a distributor, they would have to buy from the Mexico office and not by the Brazilian office. If they wanted to be a customer and it was closer, they could go to Brazil and do it. So these little nuances of you're finding out the legal stuff that changes in certain places around the world. But that's a little bit more technical. And, you know, you're building a relationship with the office and you're finding out about distributorship, and usually that will pop up, but it's very unlikely. But that was, you know, here, that's an example of that happening. Perfect. You guys got any other questions? Here's the last one. All right, Leanne. Thank you, Krill, for the presentation. If the Facebook page Prosperity and Healthy Alliance, and is that where the Facebook Live occurs each Tuesday in Australia? Yes, it is. It's Monday night for us, Tuesday for you. That's where it will happen. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get Zoom and Facebook to connect and work together this evening. But yes, that's the page. I'm glad you're getting some good value and joining us there. All right, friends. I'll make a couple of announcements. And Wade will be back next week doing another webinar. And take a look. I think there's some big events happening. The Global Convention in March at Mr. Ashira's birthday as well. So that's all in Okinawa. And then there's going to be a larger global event, I believe at solstice time, June 21st to 23rd in the United States. And then there's a big event at the end of October with Fred Brown and his group, Achieving the Dream in Las Vegas, which we're planning to attend. That's October 25th to 28th. So it's really good to get your schedule kind of planned out early January, early February for what your year is going to look like. So hope to see you at one of those events. Oh yes, and there's a big event in Australia in 2 weeks, which should be pretty exciting for all of you guys down under. Have a fantastic time. My experience with the business is faucet connection problems with the device. Yes, growing an international business means faucet issues. And here's something that I just regularly do is I always ask, even in my local market, I just get the customer to to take a picture of their faucet, a couple pictures usually, and send it to me either email or WhatsApp app, so that you can check it out. You would hope that if they're standard pipes, faucets, then the local office will have the standard setups, but you can run into challenges along the way. That's where it's also great to ask the local office that you're dealing with, or the international office in that local area, if there's anything to be aware of when it comes to faucet installations. And you just gotta have patience. So that's where setting those realistic expectations with your customer will be, because you're trying new stuff. No, but that's a great feedback. Yeah, the faucet issues is always it can give you a headache. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And here's another show of the PH Alliance, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Good luck in growing your business, your life, and enjoying yourselves. All the best, everybody. Thank you.